Hey guys, what's going on? It's Meteor Kaiser, and welcome back to part 2 of Can You Beat Earthbound using only Ness? Now, I know it's been a hot minute since I did the first part, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me and giving me all that support on the first part. I really appreciate that. But without further ado, we'll just get back into it. Same exact rules as the last time, just making sure that we're focusing on only using Ness, killing off every other party member when we can. Besides that, it's pretty much free reign about what I can do. So let's just jump into it. Alright, so when we last left off, we went through Foreside, completed the Montoli building, and we were tasked with getting to Summers. Now, in order to get to Summers, we have to head back to Threed. We're going back to where Jeff sort of crash landed in his spaceship thing, and we actually have to take that back to Winters. It's been fixed by people who are just in the area. So we use that, we head back to Winters, and we run into Dr. Endonuts, who is going to be recalculating that so it can take a trip over to Summers. And while that happens, we actually go ahead and tackle the 4th sanctuary location. Now, the 4th sanctuary location was a huge pain. Like, not the location itself, but the boss fight. It wasn't like the worst fight I've ever had, but it was pretty bad. So the fight against Shroom, right? So as you'd expect with the name Shroom, he can poison and can mushroomize you. And of course, the mushroomization makes you feel funny. Being poisoned is bad enough, taking like 20 or so extra damage per turn that we really don't need to take. Mushroomisation, of course, makes us feel funky, which makes us miss a lot. So our attacks are kind of cheeks. The good thing is, once Ness has actually already been mushroomized, Shroom is still going to keep going for scattering some spores. And of course, it's not going to do anything because we're already mushroomized. So that's not a problem. It's kind of a long fight where I'm just bashing over and over again. And I'm just using PSI beta or healing beta to fix myself until I eventually take him out and reach level 51. I record the 4th Soundstone step thing, and we're able to make our way over to Summers. Hey, what's up? It's me. Quick interjection in the middle of the video. I just wanted to mention, if you guys could subscribe and hit that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. I tend to not do that too much on these videos, but I really wanted to try and push it a little bit because there's a lot of you guys who are watching my content but still haven't hit that sub button. And to help me grow, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the video. So once we reach Summers, the first objective is to go all the way to the right to the port area of the city, which is also kind of funny enough, the poor area, so poor and port. Ha ha ha. God, that was awful. But we're supposed to be getting information into going into the place called the Stoic Club. So we pop over to one of the houses, and this guy gives us the secret password to get into said club. We also pop outside, and Tony, who's Jeff's friend, gives us a ring and wants to know our name, as in like my name, the player's name. So there's a lot of character spaces, so I just go full with Meteor Kaiser. This will be more important towards the end of the game, but for now it doesn't really have much significance. After we make our way into the Stoic Club, there's a lady who's selling this magic cake type item. She's essentially selling us like LSD. It's I didn't want to say it, but it's pretty obvious. But anyway, once we are sent on a little trip, we get teleported into the last character's position, Pooh. And yes, I know his name is Pooh. That's the canon name. Don't ask me why. But we get teleported into this place called Dalam, which is this very Indian-looking temple. I don't want to say Indian specifically, but it does give off those vibes because there's elephants and stuff. But anyway, our task here is to basically beat a trial in which we just have to accept all of this punishment. So like, I'm going to break your legs. Will you accept this? I'm going to blind your eyes. Will you accept this? You just got to keep clicking yes to all of them, and eventually you'll get through it. And then you will be teleporting essentially to Summers and meet up with Ness in the group. So unlike the whole situation with Jeff, this is like a 5-minute thing where you get introduced to Pooh, and then Pooh joins your team. So first thing we do with Pooh, we kill him off as we're supposed to. Our next objective is to head into the museum in order to take a look at this ancient tablet in the museum. That gives us a little information on where we're supposed to be heading next, which is Scaraba. Now we do have a few paths that we can take. We can head straight over to Scaraba, or we can go and hit the 5th sanctuary location. So I'm like, I can hit the 5th sanctuary location. I still haven't done the 3rd one, so let's just take care of this. So we gotta head all the way back to Fourside. But now that we have teleport beta, well, I'm still using Ness for teleport alpha, but I will admit that I have kept Pooh alive sometimes just for his teleport, which he isn't being used in battle, so it's kind of a loophole. But teleport alpha, you have to go along a whole strip to teleport. Teleport beta is just going round and round in a lot smaller area, so it's a lot easier to teleport. That's more convenience than anything. But anyway, we head over to the dinosaur museum in Fourside, and then we are trying to get into the back area behind where the manager is, because that's where the sanctuary location is. But before we do that, we have to give the manager a autograph from Miss Venus. Now Miss Venus is playing over at the theater, so we just go over there, we go into the backstage, we grab an autograph for her, and then we give it to the manager. Now the manager moves, he's able to unlock the path for us into the sewers, which is where the next sanctuary location is. Now this sanctuary location was a doozy. Oh my lord. Okay, I wouldn't call it like insanely difficult. It was more annoying than anything, right? So there's 2 main enemies here. There's ghosts and there's mice, right? So the ghost, the stinky ghost, I guess you would call him, has the ability, as all of them do, to ghostify you, give you that little ghost. And we know from back in 3 how annoying that was. So it's the same sort of thing here. And then the other enemy is that an upgraded version of the mouse that we fought before, who has those insanely powerful crits. So just a lot of annoying enemies. The ghost freezes us, and it's hard to go back and heal. So I ended up just dealing with it like I did before. There's also some violent roaches, but they're really not that bad. Once we make our way through, we run into the boss. Now the boss, the Plague Rat of Doom, isn't the worst enemy, but it's more of a, it could be really scary type boss, because like the mice from before, this guy has the ability to hit you with that smash attack almost all the time. So it's got an insanely high rate, and plus it poisons you, so you got to deal with both poison and those smash attacks. The regular attacks don't do crap for damage, so I tried using shield beta, but it really didn't help much. It helped on some of the attacks, but to be honest, it was probably easier if I just spammed bashing. This is literally just an RNG fight of hoping you don't get screwed over by smash attacks. But anyway, with that, we're able to grab that 5th sanctuary location, and now I run back and try and deal with the 3rd sanctuary location back in Saturn Valley again. Now I think I'm high enough leveled in order to deal with this, so making my way through was a lot easier. I was able to just destroy most of the enemies, so I was able to go into the Trillionage Sprout fight fresh. Now I have Vibing Gamma by this point, so I open up with a Vibing Gamma on the boss, and I defeat his 2 little sproutlings. Again, this boss fight is another one of just praying to RNG that you don't get hit by diamondization. That's the important thing about this boss fight, is that diamondization BS. Just as long as you don't get hit by that, you're set. But the second you get hit by that, everyone else is dead. So it's just one of those unfortunate things. But anyway, we were able to finally clear the 3rd sanctuary location. Before heading into Scaraba, the next place we actually heading back to is Dalam. Now we can teleport there, and that's going to be where the 6th sanctuary location is located at. This is both the easiest dungeon and the hardest dungeon at the exact same time. The reason I say this is because every enemy pretty much is using thunder. So we have the Franklin badge. So we just put the Franklin badge on Ness and just gets deflected every time. There's a few enemies that have a little bit more annoying attacks. The Conducting Menace has thunder attacks, but he also has PSI Flash Beta, which has a chance of instant killing you. So, and that happened a lot more than I thought it was going to, and it just drove me insane. After finally clearing through the area is actually not too big, which is nice. We move on to the boss, the 6th bosses, Thunder and Storm. Well, they're just one boss, but it's 2 characters. And hey, guess what? They have the same ability where they can instant kill you. So I died a few times trying against them. even though I have the ability to block lightning, they still were able to insta-kill me several times, and it took me about an hour to clear through this area. But I eventually, with enough willpower and enough bashing, Bash Simulator 2020, was able to get through the 6th century location. We're really pumping these out right now. Now we can finally head over to Scaraba, which I could have done first, but to be honest, I'd rather just go canonically. Now we're taking a boat from Summers to Scaraba, but on the way there, we run into a Kraken, which is a fun boss. Actually, probably the easiest fight I've had so far. It took no time at all. Just a few bashes and we're good. Alright, and now we have arrived in Scaraba. We do a little bit of housekeeping, some shopping, looking around, and we head out into the desert. The desert's actually a lot smaller than I remember it being. It was kind of nice. But our goal is to reach the Sphinx that's in the middle of the desert and get through his little puzzle. Not the Sphinx's riddle, you know, if you know what that is. But no, it's literally just, you gotta step on these pressure plates in like a star formation. It's really not that difficult. That unlocks the pyramid that is in the Sphinx, and we just go through there. What's kind of cool about this area is there's hieroglyphs that actually come out and attack you. The most annoying thing about this area is that there is just a lot of enemies. Like, there's so many enemies to go through. It's good experience for Ness, but this is actually the point in the adventure where I was worried about getting to cap. Like, I didn't want to reach level cap this early because I was like, this is just going to be too easy then. Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that too much. Yeah, the boss fight was also a pretty big joke. It's just a upgraded enemy. It was more like a mini boss fight, to be honest. I just used a PSI shield beta and just smashed the shit out of him. We go through and we get the Hawk Eye, which we'll need for later, and we exit from the pyramid. Now, Pooh's teacher, the Starstorm guy, don't think he really has a name, actually steals Pooh from our party because he wants to teach Pooh PK Starstorm, which is a really great move, or PSI Starstorm. Sorry, I'm always in that mother / Smash Bros mood, you know? But anyway, our next objective as we come out of the pyramid is actually to go north. We will run into a giant dungeon-shaped man, conveniently called the Dungeon Man, who has the weirdest music that you could find in one of these dungeons. A lot of people like it, but I am creeped out by it. Now, the dungeon is very easy. The only thing to worry about is there's some mooks in the middle that can diamondize you. So be careful about that, because I think I died once to those guys. So just be warned. But anyway, it actually turns out that the Dungeon Man is Brick Road. He turned himself into a dungeon, which is kind of cool. Once we leave Dungeon Man, he actually follows us. And he's our party member for the span of about a minute, 2 minutes. He's really, really powerful, but he gets stopped by his mortal enemy, trees. Our next objective is to go to the Deep Darkness. Now, in order to get there, we actually have to take a submarine that was just chilling inside of Dungeon Man. So we take it and we head over to the Deep Darkness. Deep Darkness is a pretty damn easy dungeon. Nothing too bad. We have a boss fight against Master Bloach again. And this time you cannot use the Jar of Honey on him, which I thought you could, but he just wasn't that big of a deal. In the middle of the fight, Pooh comes in and steals the show. So Pooh gets a bit of experience, which kind of sucks, but it's scripted. So after making our way through the Deep Darkness, we reach the Tenga village. And these guys are shy. There's one person in there that isn't shy, but our objective is to get a book that will basically stop them from being shy, because we need one of the shy Tengas to move a brick in order to get into one of the last areas of the game. The next place we gotta head back to is Winters, and we see that the enemies have been overrun by Giygas' minions. We've got to go through all of the areas that we went through before, so we travel on Tessie, we make our way south up to Dr. Andonitz's lab, and we actually have to go into the Stonehenge, which is that middle area where all those cavemen are. And we have to make our way through the Stonehenge base, which is yet another insanely annoying dungeon because, hey, diamondization. The Mook Senior is the only challenging enemy here. The Starmen are probably the easiest enemies to deal with. But thankfully, once we make it past that first initial area, which takes the longest time, it's all of those sort of underground pathways, we reach the main part where the only enemies that are threats are just the Starmen, really. We make our way and attack the Starman Deluxe, who is the boss of the area, in order to free our friends who have been kidnapped in said area. We also get the Apple of Eden, which we'll figure out what that is all about later. But anyway, we free Apple Kid, who's there, and Apple Kid actually tells us about where the book Overcoming Shyness is. It's actually going to be back in 1-ette. It's in the library in 1-ette. So we head back there, grab it, and give it to the tenders, or the tender elder who gives it to everyone else. There's another cool thing to mention about this place is there is one tender who will trade, if you trade him a bunch of Horn of Lives, he'll give you certain items, and one of them's a really nice bat. So it's worth giving him a bunch of Horn of Lives. Anyway, we're able to head through into the next area, which is actually going to be the 7th Sanctuary location. And guess who's back? Our best boy Fobbies. Or Foppies, but now they're Fobbies. So those guys are back. So nice, easy, juicy experience there. Conducting spirits are back. Those guys from the 6th dungeon. So just be careful about them. But I got pretty lucky. I don't think I got hit by Flash Beta. Anyway, it is a kind of confusing dungeon, but we make our way over to Electrospectre, the 7th Guardian, who is a actual joke because he's another electric guy. We get our 7th Sanctuary and we make our way into the Lost Underworld, where there's dinosaurs and we're small, very small. We run into the village in the middle where there's this talking rock that'll be like, hey, you got to get the Sanctuary locations. But we've got 7, so we just need to get the last one, which is at the Fire Spring in the northwest or northeast, one of the two. It's at the top. But before going there, it's worth picking up this item called the Sea Pendant. Now, the Sea Pendant is actually in the Lost Underworld at the north, like past the Fire Spring. And this is going to help us out greatly because it reduces the damage of PSI attacks to the wearer. So everything PSI based is just going to be less, which is good because the Diamond Dog, the boss of this area, has some really powerful moves. The Sea Pendant basically makes all of the threat from this area irrelevant. All of the enemies are using pretty much PSI attacks, so they're not a threat to me. None of those Psycho guys, none of the Flame Soul things. But we move into the Diamond Dog / Carbon Dog boss fight. Carbon Dog is the first part. It's a 2-parter boss, in which I get extremely lucky with the first part because I smash him and he's dead in like a turn or two. Even his little fireball does only like 20 damage to me, so it's pretty great. So you just keep smashing. I smash twice on this guy and he switches over onto Diamond Dog form, which, be careful, this guy also has that ability to diamondize you, as you'd expect. Now, I actually use a bag of Dragonite here, which is really not that great. It doesn't do that much. Diamond Dog also has a shield, so be careful about that. Yeah, I only do like 300 damage with the bags of Dragonite, which is kind of not that, like my bash does like the same. So be careful, he is very strong with his physical attacks. That's the other thing that's pretty bad. He does like 100+ damage on you each turn. But to be honest, he's really not that scary of a boss fight. The scariest ones are probably Shroom, Trillion-Nodge Sprout, and the Thunder and Storm guy. I think those were the 3 hardest ones. As long as you take those precautions, if you don't have the Sea Pendant, this fight will be so much harder for you. So just make sure you pick up that Sea Pendant. He does have a lot of HP, but you just gotta go into it. Anyway, once you beat the 8th guy, you're actually teleported into the land of Magicant, which in this game is sort of just a land in your head. It was pretty big in Earthbound 0 / Beginnings, but this is just more like this is Ness's world. So you run into all the people that you've met so far, and then you're supposed to be going through the Sea of Your Soul. So there's some annoying enemies here. There's these dice guys who are the worst ones, because they call allies like every turn. And there's these guys that throw bombs, which are pretty annoying. So I try and avoid as many enemies as I possibly can, to be honest, because it's just not really worth it for me. Anyway, once we sort of get through this first area, we're actually traveling in the sea part, and we have to fight against 3 Krakens. Now, these 3 Krakens are not difficult, just as the other Krakens from before weren't difficult. I think they've got the same exact stats. Our final boss of Magicant is going to be our Nightmare, which is just a personification of both ourself and the Many Many statue. Ness's Nightmare has all of the abilities that we do, and he's gonna spam Vibing Omega a lot. You're gonna go into mortal territory very often, so just make sure you're hitting that life up Gamma a lot. Vibing Omega is going to do like easy 600 damage, so you're going to be put into mortal territory. Thank God for scrolling HP is all I can say. But as long as you're taking care of that and you're bashing, you're going to eventually beat him. And this is the point where the game just gets broken. The Apple of Enlightenment / the Apple of Eden, whatever you want to call it, is essentially going to unlock your abilities. For every place that you've been to, you will get a huge boost in HP, PP, and stats. And Ness is going to turn into super shredded Chad Ness. By the end of it, and we're level 89, we're getting into the home stretch of things. We've gotten through all of the sanctuary locations, and we've made it through Magic Ant. Now, before we can actually reach Giygas in the final area of the game, we have to head back to Onett, because Dr. Andernuts and Apple Kid have invented a phase distorter, but it needs a certain item. We need to go back to the beginning and get a chunk of that meteor that fell in the very beginning of the game. But Giygas is going to try his damnedest to stop us, so he's sending in all of his best units to try and deal with us, including the Ghost of Starman, which will spam PK Starstorm constantly. So just be warned for that. We go back, we reach the top, we grab that meteorite, we give it to Dr. Andernuts, and he's able to install it into the phase distorter. Now, in order to travel back into the past so we can deal with Giygas, you know, before he becomes what he is now. So this is kind of weird. Buzz came from the future to warn us. We're going back into the past to kill him when he was a baby. Sort of like what we should have done with Hitler. That type of thing. God, that was awful. So we head back into the past, but there's one problem. We can only bring our souls along, and our bodies will get disintegrated. So we have to be basically put into surgery and given robotic shells for bodies. So that's fun. But anyway, we are in the Cave of the Past, which is actually in the Lost Underworld. You can actually visit a part of it while you're in the bottom right or left hand side. So it's in that Lost Underworld, but this is in the past. So a lot of the final enemies are here. There's a Kraken that gives you Ness's ultimate bat, which is a 1 in 128 chance. I was thinking about it, but then I was like, no, I've already spent enough time playing this game. So I really just breezed through this area. None of these enemies are that hard, thankfully, because Ness is, as I said, completely broken right now. Anyway, we make it up to the boss area, the final area, which is the, as I like to call it, the cervix. If you think this doesn't look like a cervix, I don't know. I was that kid that was with those conspiracy theories. I don't know if Giygas's head in this boss fight is a baby. If those images that you see, the ghost looking things, are babies. If you agree with me, you're the best, but I just really don't know what the hell is going on with Giygas. There's been so many theories about him, but I don't know if any of them are true or not. But anyway, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Once we reach the back, we see our boy Giygas in the Devil's Machine, which again, it's another thing where his face has Ness's face on it. I don't know if it's a reflection of Ness or if this is like, hey, this is like the easiest way that we can personify Giygas, because Giygas does not have a form. And guess who else is there but Pokey. Pokey, you piece of shit. So Pokey is here, and I guess it's just his job in life just to fuck us up. I don't know why he was just trying to destroy everything we work towards. But anyway, we have the boss fight against heavily armored Pokey and Giygas. Now, what you want to focus on first is dealing with the Pokey, because he will drop your offense like nobody's business, and really trying to attack Giygas in this part is there's no point. Giygas will be spamming vibings, so just be careful about that. As every other fight, just watch your HP and bash when you have the chance. But your attack is going to get very low by the end of this, considering how often Pokey will lower your offense. He lowers it by like 13, 14 points at a time. So you just got to be patient and bash through. Once you defeat Pokey, you'll be put into stage 2, which is another one of these just bash and heal. Giygas himself is a lot scarier. Make sure you have that Franklin badge equipped. Oh, well, actually, here's the thing, right? I took the Franklin badge off of Ness specifically for one reason, okay? He doesn't necessarily need it, and Paula is actually going to be needed alive. We need Paula to survive this next part, specifically because she is the only way that we were able to beat this boss fight. So it's not technically going to be a full solo run. That's the problem here. It's not a full solo run, so that's the loophole in the system, is Paula is needed to beat Giygas. And you'll see in a minute why that is. But this first stage of Giygas is just bash, heal, rinse, repeat. Be careful, he has very powerful attacks, and he'll deal 300, 400 damage per turn, so just keep that focused. You'll eventually get into stage 2 where you're still able to do damage, but the damage is kind of useless. It's at this stage that you realize, oh, yikes. So, Paula, this is the point where you need to revive Paula, give her a Horn of Life, whatever you want to do, life up Omega, or healing Omega, whichever one brings people back to life. I'm not entirely sure. Don't remember off the top of my head. And she's going to start praying every turn. That's her job the entire rest of this. Just praying every single turn. So Ness is going to shield up, going to turtle up essentially, heal when necessary. But Paula's not going to take much damage because Giygas pretty much exclusively is using lightning. So giving her the Franklin badge is a necessity if you don't want this to be a complete pain in the ass. So each turn you're going to pray to someone and they're going to give you strength to help you out. Each sort of person that you've met on your journey. Eventually there'll be no one left to pray to, and Giygas will still be alive, but then this is when we come in. Meteor Kaiser, the king of this game. I'm not the king. Kaiser's in the name, you know. We pray that Ness and his friends, and by Ness and his friends I mean Ness and Paula, can defeat Giygas. We keep praying, and we land that mortal blow on Giygas's undead ass, and we beat Earthbound. Damn, that feels good to say. We go through the ending, and the ending is kind of cool. So Jeff and Pooh leave us, so it's me and Paula. You can go through exploring the region. There's not going to be any enemies. The only enemy that might be left is if you left a coffin, a mummy, in the museum back in Summers. There is a glitch where if you fight him, your game will soft lock. So that's kind of cool. If you want more details on that, a cool video to check out is Chugga Conroy's video on it. I was originally going to do that, but then I was like, I kind of forgot, to be honest. But anyway, we bring back Paula to her parents, and then we go back to our own parents. And by parents, I mean just mom, because dad's wherever. And we roll through the credits. We're able to see all the photos that were taken, and we're able to see all of the characters that we met along the way. Now, this challenge was very, very difficult in the middle stages. Early to middle was the hardest parts. So Saturn Valley, the Grapefruit Falls, Threed, a little bit past that into the desert. The desert wasn't terrible, and there were a lot of close calls, but I didn't have to reset too much, which was nice. It was like a good middle level challenge, I would say. Nothing too hard, but enough to make it interesting. And of course, it probably would have been more interesting if I didn't get that bat, the T-Rex bat. That was like a good couple solid hours of my life wasted. But it worked out in the end. It made my life easier. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. My name has been Meteor Kaiser, and I'll see you all in the next challenge video. Until then, as always, peace.